Hi everyone, trust you're doing good. Welcome back to a Nigerian Man's Perspective. And if it's your first time here, please give this video a smashing like. Let's get to it. I just found out that Jannik Sinner, for those of you who don't know Jannik Sinner, stay with me and watch this video to the very end. As I was saying, I just found out that Jannik Sinner has tested positive for doping in March this year, twice actually. Jannik Sinner is a tennis player, but I'll get into that later on. So this is my perspective on the matter. I think it's unfair. I think it's unfair from the ATP. The ATP is the Association of Tennis Players. They suspended Ima, Ebdin, Alep, and so many other players for the same doping or other infractions. But Jannik Sinner, the world number one player, doesn't get suspended for doping? Why are we finding out this now? This happened in March 2024, during and after the Indian Wells tournament that took place then. Why are we finding out now, after 5 months? We found out that he had 2 positive tests. Now, in Jannik's defense, he said he didn't do it on purpose. But does it matter? No, to me, it doesn't matter, because they need to be consistent with applying the rules. So the people I mentioned earlier, Ima, Halep, also said that they didn't do it intentionally, but they weren't pardoned, right? Jannik should have gotten at least 1 year, if not the 2 years that most players get when doping offenses occur. Now, is it because they were not top players? Man, this is wrong from the ATP. I'm not impressed. Guys, what do you think? What are your comments? Please put in the comments down below. If you're new to this channel, like I said earlier, give this video a like and consider subscribing to my channel. So, if you're not a tennis player, or you're not a tennis fan, and you're wondering, what's this guy saying? Stay with me to the end, like I said. Jannik Sinner is a 23-year-old Italian tennis player who moved up to world number 1 in the ATP rankings for the first time in June this year. Is considered one of the leaders of the next group of male tennis stars who succeed the big three of Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, and Novak Djokovic. Sinner's first Grand Slam trophy came in January at the Australian Open, where he defeated Djokovic in the semifinals before erasing a 2-set deficit in the final to beat Daniil Medvedev. He's 48-5 with a tour leading 5 titles. His most recent championship came in at the Cincinnati Open on Monday. He's in red-hot form. Now, I mentioned earlier that Sinner tested positive for banned drugs. What is this drug? This drug is called clostebol. Clostebol is an anabolic steroid that can be found in ointments and sprays sold over the counter in some countries such as Italy, and is used to treat cuts or scrapes. It is considered a performance enhancer, and several athletes in various sports have been suspended after testing positive. One high-profile example was San Diego Padres star Fernando Tatis Jr., who received an 80-game ban, guys, an 80-game ban from Major League Baseball in 2022. Sinner submitted a urine sample that showed traces of clostebol during the Indian Wells tournament in California in March, like I said. An out-of-competition sample 8 days later also tested positive. So he got 2 positive tests within 8 days. There is no dispute that this thing was in his urine, right? Now, the question is, why was he allowed to continue competing, right? Now, I understand that Sinner was provisionally suspended for the 2 positive results, but he appealed those bans, saying he inadvertently was exposed to the steroid. Now, guys, check this out. He argued, he argued that one member of his team purchased a spray that contained clostebol in Italy, then gave it to another team member, a physiotherapist, who cut his finger. Surprise, surprise, he cut his finger. Sinner said the physiotherapist then gave him a massage, which transmitted the substance to Sinner. So we're led to believe that one member of the team bought the spray. He didn't know that it had clostebol, right? Is close team member of a professional tennis player who's world number one. Stay with me, guys. World number one in the world. He bought that spray that happened to contain a banned substance, right? He now gave it to the physiotherapist, right? Who cut his finger at that same time. As he cut his finger, he cut his finger and rubbed this spray on it. And by giving Sinner the massage, that transmitted the substance to Sinner. And that is how it enters Sinner's body. That is Sinner's defense. Now, the International Tennis Integrity Agency, the ITIA, which handles anti-doping and anti-corruption investigations for the sport, accepted this explanation. They accepted it, as did an independent tribunal. So two bodies, the ITIA and the independent tribunal. They said Sinner wasn't negligent. Sinner wasn't at fault, period. Now, was Sinner punished at all? Now, because one of the positive tests came through during the tournament, the Indian Wells tournament I mentioned earlier, Sinner had to forfeit $325,000 in prize money and 400 ranking points he earned by getting to the semifinals at Indian Wells. He didn't win that tournament, but he got to the semifinals, right? So that was the punishment. But guys, if you're a tennis fan, that is nothing. That is nothing, really. That is nothing for world number one player. That's almost negligible, right? Now, other players have chimed in on this particular case. Many players went on social media. They offered their takes on this particular case. They talked about people that had gotten suspensions in the past. Nick Kyrgios, who is a Wimbledon runner-up, he called the situation ridiculous and said he thought a ban was warranted. Tennis Sangren, a two-time quarterfinalist at the Australian Open, said Sinner's explanation for how the steroid got into his system does seem pretty plausible. And that's what I think as well. It seems plausible. But added that how this was handled really doesn't seem fair. And that's what I said in the beginning of this video. I said it was unfair, right? It wasn't handled in a fair manner compared to other players whatsoever. That's what Tennis Sangren said. Now, there were also those who noted that Jensen Brooksby and Mikael Ymer were both suspended for missing tests. So they weren't caught with banned substances, but like I said earlier, doping and infraction. So this can be considered an infraction. So they missed tests. Now, Chris Evert, an 18-time Grand Slam champion who is now an ESPN analyst, had something to say on the matter. She said, I do think that they protect top players. That's what I think as well. By protecting, they are going to keep the secret for a couple of months. Chris, get in there. They're going to keep certain things secret. Shh. Don't tell anybody. If you're a top player, because they don't want the press, the player doesn't want the press. It's all going to come out in 3 months anyway. I do think there's some protection there. More than if you were Joe Smith, she's just making this up, who is ranked 400 in the world. And that's what I said, who you are. But it shouldn't be that way. This is a professional sport. Why do you have one rule for you know, the number one player in the world. It wasn't number one at that point, but that's irrelevant. It was definitely a top player, and he has been a top player for some time. But you protect him. You not release the information, and you're not consistent. I'm not happy about this, guys. I need to hear your own comments on the matter. Leave your comments down below. Subscribe to my channel, like this video, and I'll see you in the next one.